Good afternoon. This is Spirit Journey. Sorry, my phone trying to. Okay. Sorry about that. My phone is not. Sure. The orientation of it changed, so now it's narrow rather than a landscape. Welcome. Good evening, guys and gals. Good evening. This is Spirit Journey. And I hope you all are having a wonderful evening. Today is September 23rd, 2020. And as you see, the time is 8:56 p.m. And this is a nice view from my window. I enjoy looking outside. And yeah, I'm in bed right now just relaxing. And I want to talk about two major things. I want to talk about some of the visions that I had during two meditation sessions. And I also, hey, how you doing, Camp? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm just relaxing here, and I want to talk about two things. These two visions I had um, while I was meditating today and yesterday, and I also want to talk about the Breonna Taylor. Um, there's a possible indictment of officers that had killed her in her home. So I want to talk about, let's see, um, I want to first talk about two of the visions that I had. Yeah, the reason why I report my visions is because I'm hoping that, see, this is my journey, and I'm hoping that one day that some of the things that I'm seeing, that later in life or something, that if I see it in person, so are these things that are these visions things that are going to come about in the future? Are they things that are occurring as I see them, as if I'm traveling, my mind is traveling to other places? So by being able to document the individuals that I see or the places that I see at a later time, so that I know that at least what I'm seeing are things that exist. That's the primary reason why I share my visions. And again, maybe other people are seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. I saw a real interesting video by this YouTuber who um, said that this woman went to see a therapist because she had a nightmare about something, and the therapist asked to describe what the person in her dream, what they looked like, and they did a composite, and the therapist had left the picture somewhere, and then someone else that worked there recognized the drawing of the person. They saw the same person. Yeah. So this is important because you want to find out things just don't happen in life. Things happen for a reason. People are seeing things. Just like in the Bible days, people were seeing things, and maybe other people saw the same thing. So you want to share valuable information as the hopes of being able to find common grounds from other people, you know, yeah, from other people, so that it's just not imagination, but it's something concrete. So, the I saw something yesterday, and again, these two visions that I'm going to mention, occur when I awaken, awaken in the morning from sleep, and I keep my eyes closed and just relax. And usually, almost immediately, I start to see things. Sometimes it looks like a photo of something, and sometimes I can see things moving that I'm observing something, or sometimes it seems as if I am there and I am the participant in the thing that I'm seeing, and I'm moving about. So, um, so what I saw yesterday, uh, I saw this happen early in the morning. Again, my eyes are closed, and upon awakening, I see. Again, it's very hazy, but I saw home. It looked like a luxury home, and it's a big pane glass, a very wide glass, and it was. I was looking outside, and outside it looked like a large body of water, and it seemed like it could have been also trees or something, but it was so hazy, so out of focus. And I wish I knew how to see clearly in these visions. So, anybody who is listening to this, if you have suggestions how I could perfect my ability to see my visions clearly. I like one person did tell me, I mean, not me specifically, but when you're meditating or doing astral projection, you can say things like, be there now, see clearly now, things like that. And so it's making affirmations, and uh, sometimes it's able to enhance the visual experience. So that's what I saw yesterday. And my impression as I'm looking, as I'm uh, viewing what I'm seeing, I got the impression it was um, a luxury home, something very expensive looking. It was, again, it was very faint, but it just had that air about it, even though it was out of focus. And then today's vision, again, I'm awakening from sleep. And this one, I saw a woman. The Again, it was hazy, out of focus. And the woman, it was a Caucasian woman, and she was walking in front of me. And I know she had extremely long hair down to her buttocks, and it was a light blonde color, very um, full, very full hair. I don't want to say bushy, but it didn't lie like dead straight. It was had just really full, and she was wearing uh, a firm fitted shirt, no, a top. It was nice top. It looked like a brownish color, and then it was some type of print, long sleeve, and I forget whether she was wearing a skirt or pants, but I think she could have been wearing boots. And then the person turns around and looks at my direction, and then she continued walking. And I don't know. I think the top had like a felt texture to it, even though it was very faint. But I don't know, just had the impression that it was something that had texture, a fabric that had texture and a nape to it. Um, I did not know the woman at all. Um, she was very, just very, I thought, fashionable. seemed very stylish what she was wearing, and it had a retro look. It kind of reminded me of the 1970s type of look. Really nice. Something that, someone um, in some maybe like a Soho, is very fashion conscious type of woman. And also, I think in the same vision, that yeah, this would have been today's bubbles. I notice also with my visions, like sometimes I just see a lot of movement, and like one vision could lead into another, and they just kind of float into each other, and it was very hazy. I notice also I see shapes, geometric shapes, um, or I'll see like the shapes I'm seeing oftentimes are six-sided, 6 to 8 or five-sided, um, um, like octagons, hexagonal shape or pentagonal shapes, and they kind of something that look like bubbles. These clear bubbles that are tightly packed together. They're different sizes. Um, they're like big. They're just all over. I don't know the significance of that, but I have that often in the early morning visions that I have. Um, can't think of anything else. What other shapes? Hmm. Yeah, that's about that for the visions, the two visions that I had. Again, I think it's very important to document some of the things you see, and sometimes I draw some of the things I see, um, just to um, know, for reference and everything. So that's that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, since I got that out the way, I want to talk about Breonna Taylor. I really haven't been following that case, to be honest. I don't really know much about the case, um, other than that she was a nurse, and law enforcement believed that she was receiving packages from a known drug dealer, and so they had gotten permission to stake out her house and to execute a search warrant, a what do you call it, like a bust in a home, and it could have been a no-knock warrant against her to get inside her home. Well, either way, they came to execute the warrant, and it is said that her boyfriend shot shot his gun to the people who were trying to bust into his place. He claimed it was claimed that the police did not announce who they were, and that the boyfriend Brianna are inside and they're just protecting themselves. This could have happened. What time was it? 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was early morning hours. Yeah, anybody who's listened to this, if you know what time they executed the warrant, I mean that would frighten anybody. And I have been in a robbery once. Yeah, I was home alone. I had decided at the last minute that I was going to stay at home while my folks had went out. And shortly after my parents left, I went back downstairs to make some popcorn. Yes, I love my popcorn. I went back upstairs. Then I called up a friend of mine, and I just wanted to chill out that Friday, eat popcorn, and talk to my friend. And then I heard banging, and went to investigate. And a man was on the porch, And I said, oh my goodness, that's not my father. I realized this is a break-in. I ran back upstairs, and then he's pounding on the door, and the door was breaking in. It almost fell off the hinge. He almost got in. And I told the person I was speaking to at that time, I said, call the cops. There's a break-in. Call the cops. And I may have forgotten to actually hang up the phone. I left the phone on the bed. And I raced back downstairs, and I said a fictitious name for so and so to get this weapon. And I think also when I was running down the stairs, I turned on the lights. That could have happened. Everything happened so fast. I was just on instinct. And the person did run away. So I know what it's like to be afraid and for someone to try to break in. That happened around 9:30 or something like that in the evening. But either way, um, so the police claim that they announced themselves. Again, I don't know. But what happened in the melee was that Breonna dies from bullets. And interesting, the news report that I saw just a moment ago could not substantiate, I think a total of three cops. One cop did get indicted, and that cop got indicted for shooting his weapon, and that weapon hitting the someone else's apartment or someone else's dwelling. So he got indicted for that. But the other two officers, and they believe that one or both of the two of the officers' gun was responsible for the killing of Breonna. Now they should have already had that information, whether or not their guns were responsible for her death. Did it cause her death? So that has to be substantiated. Why isn't that substantiated? And again, my condolences to Breonna Taylor's family. This is, I do not want to offend anybody, but I will be saying things that some it may not sit well with, but I'm just trying to make sense out of all this. For any human life to perish, and again, she was a nurse, for something like that, it's a waste of life. But if they believe the cops have evidence of illicit activity, and if she wasn't involved in things before, anything illicit before, I'm sure they not just make, I don't want to believe that they make up a story. Hey, let's just target this girl who's a nurse. They may have had reasons to issue a warrant. So, to barge into someone's home without announcing yourself, I think is foolish. And what if they barge into someone's home, the wrong person's home? And we have heard of things like that. Warrants being given to they enter the wrong apartment. So when you're doing something, you have to really, really, really know without a shadow of doubt that that is the correct house or apartment. Plus, you have to know who's inside. They have all the spy cameras and stuff these days, right? They have to find out who's in there at the time. And there was a child in that apartment, I heard. So if you're going to issue a warrant and you take it in and you have your weapons, you don't want that child to be, any child or minor to be hurt, especially an infant. So, what do you do? The drugs in the black community is high. We don't want it in there. It's horrible to have that happen. And if packages are being mailed to our house allegedly, is this true? Why did they believe that packages were being mailed to her house as a cover? Was this true? And if it was, then I feel the police had reason then to issue a warrant. Okay? I don't believe just make up something. Hey, let's just target this person. There had to be some reason. What else? So, what about the guy who allegedly was mailing the packages to her home? Did they arrest him? Okay. How is it that how were they able to shoot Breonna and not the boyfriend? How is that he survived? How come he didn't get shot? And he's the one that pulled the trigger. So you start to wonder, how could this happen? How could they shoot inside, shoot, and they can't see who's inside? Or is it that the other two, when they forced themselves into the unit and they shot then? So if the boyfriend has the gun, why didn't they shoot the boyfriend if he had a gun? So there's so many questions. It gets me angry about drugs. I don't do drugs, and I've never done drugs. But as you saw, I did a video earlier today, and almost like within 2 minutes after I did the video, a young man is trying to hustle me to buy some stuff. I don't know what they were. My neighborhood, I noticed yesterday and today, it had a very strong drug element. And on a street corner near where I live, pack of guys, and you could smell the marijuana, and it's just standing there. And I wonder, boy, why this activity? And then there's another part of town. It was a side street that I haven't been to that side street before. And again, a pack of guys. It was in the Garment District in Manhattan. And you smell the drug, the marijuana, and they look really spooky. And it's so sad. It's so sad to see what I see. Just these were actually older guys. They looked like in their 40s or something like that, 40s, 50s, 60s, working in the garment district, and during lunch hour, and they're just standing there, and wow, I said, what a waste. What a real waste. I don't want these drugs in my neighborhood. And it's something that, remember, what's the name? During the Ronald Reagan administration, that's the early 80s, 1980s, and in the Clinton administration, drugs were being brought into the country by the government, the American government. And the drugs distributed, and where did they distribute? Well, another video talked about that. And it's being put in targeting black neighborhoods. And that really angers me. Really angers me. So you have police getting, the police getting police warrants to break into black people's homes, and bullets flying and people dying. How come you don't hear of white homes, homes of white people being shot up early in the morning? How come you just hear these things happening in black neighborhoods? You have people with money, whites with money who do drugs, right? Usually the white people do the cocaine, and then the black people do the crack. They both do it. So why is it that only certain neighborhoods are being really profiled of activity by the police? And if the police are all about getting the bad guy, you don't have bad white people? And I even heard this one person on YouTube, a white fellow on YouTube, saying that um, if you start, there are more white people, white men that are, have weapons in their cars or doing some type of activity in their cars more than black people, but yet they aren't being stopped. And it was a white person that made that mentioned that. Statistics, the likelihood of illicit activities or possessing something illicit is higher with white people, white men in particular. So why is it that black men especially are being profiled? If reality says X, Y, and Z, why are they selecting A, B, and C? So it gives you reason to question, why this activity? Why is it happening? So you have a human life of Breonna Taylor. Her death, she was a nurse. I don't think she had a police arrest or anything like that. But if she was involved in housing, having things mailed to her address to cover for illicit activity, then the police had a reason to issue a arrest warrant on her. But the police are being sloppy in the way they executed it. Uh, it's sad. So I something has to be done. Okay, so interesting. Now the officers involved in the incident with Breonna Taylor, the indictments for the other two cops were dropped. Only the cop that's bullets entered into the wrong apartment or the wrong unit was indicted. Okay. And so now they are protesting. Okay, they're protesting in the city where the incident happened, and in New York City. And what's interesting, they're going on a march in Soho. That was the same neighborhood that I went to. Was that on Friday? I went to Soho on Friday, and I went in the area where they're protesting. I went on Spring Street. That was one of the streets I went on, Spring Street. Okay, so now they're protesting there. Why are they in Soho? With the people that they showed, the Soho is not an area where black people live. Okay, Soho is to live there. It's expensive, and they have cute little shops there. So why are they there? Why aren't they protesting in their neighborhood, their own neighborhoods? Well, this Soho neighborhood, let me see now. Um, that was the same area where with that other shooting. Oh, I forget his name. I'm afraid forget his name. The guy who died in March. I think it was March. Oh, how could I forget his name? But yeah, the one with the police officer took his knee and choked him with by strength, cutting off his windpipe. That one. Um, they were rioting there in Soho and breaking. I heard that they were breaking all the windows and looting in Soho. So okay, I'm hoping that they don't get violent there. Um, I don't, if you're going to protest in the area where the crime happened. But again, it didn't happen in New York. So why go to Soho? You protest in the area where where you live. Why are they going outside of their neighborhoods? Because they're going to get ugly, and it's going to give based on past experiences. Because they're going to steal. They're going to break into those their luxury stores. They have all these trendy clothes there in Soho, and that's what they want to steal, and then try to sell it. So I hope that's not what's going to happen. I hope that that doesn't occur. Um, so if they protest, maybe just a peaceful one. Uh, I'm also curious about something. See, no one wants it. No one likes to hear about, when you hear about police killing people. Again, it's supposed to be a self-defense. If someone's shooting at me, you shoot back. But how they need, I think, better training. They desperately need better training for New York City. Uh, so, my other concern about it is, with drug dealing and things like that. Now, my neighborhood, it intensified with the uh, drugs. Just today and yesterday, I went to this area I had to pick up buy something, and I've never been on that particular street. I've been near the area, but not there specifically, and the drug it looked really bad. And so why aren't these young people, why aren't they protesting this neighborhood? Why aren't they going up to these druggies and say, hey, go home. Hey, stop loitering. Hey, stop dealing drugs. You don't see that. Why aren't black people policing their own areas and getting those punks off the street? Why? Why? Why doesn't it bother them? Why doesn't it bother them of the curriculums or the lack of curriculums in the high schools, in the junior high schools? They're graduating and having no real skills to get a entry level job. And the only jobs that they're grooming young black people, is security guard work. And they're getting any riffraff in that. Look at a lot of the securities. They look like they just Some of them leaning against the wall. Their bearing is really, um, it's like they're getting anybody in that field. Some of these security guards, I wouldn't even trust. How they present themselves. Um, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. They have a lot of built up the some of the young people today. They have a lot of built up anger, and rightly so. A lot of the anger is justified. You're having a whole slew of people from other countries that are being selected to get into these great programs in colleges, getting into specialized high schools, and they're being groomed really nicely for moving up. And then you have the people who are born and raised here, and they're perishing. And they're being stuck into doing illicit activities to survive. But yet, even though crime is being done upon their own, by their own, but they're not protesting that. And I'm told that if you add up the number of black people who kill black people, that number is higher than a police officer killing a black person. So you have to ask yourself, why is that? Because black lives don't matter to black people. And that black lives only matter if a white person kills a black person. Because their mind is of that they're being oppressed by the police, which can be true in many situations. But you don't think your life matters and that you're just killing your own. So, hello upstairs. Hello upstairs. You're not awake. You're saying your life only matters when a white person affects you, but when you're killing yourself, you don't think you matter to yourself. So you are telling yourself that your life doesn't matter, that other black people's life doesn't matter. It only matters when a white person makes you feel uncomfortable. You're so used to being uncomfortable around your own, and that you don't think the other person's life is valuable. Stop thinking that way and start transforming the way you think. It starts with you. If you don't want drugs in your area, make sure you make sure that you do not do drugs. If someone is dealing drugs in your home, tell them to get out of your house. Get out and don't come back, because if you come back, tell them that you will call the authorities. And I'm sure they'll find someone else to stay with. You know? Uh, yeah, Black Lives Matter, of course. So start acting like it does. Start believing that it does matter. And when you convince yourself, you're going to start thinking more highly of yourself. You're going to start appreciating yourself and appreciating other black people. Black people don't like other black people. That's why you see a lot of black people dating outside of their own. Look at the woman that I talked about earlier today. What's her name? Candace Owens. She married last year someone from another group. She talks about Brexit, and for blacks to um, vote Republican, but she's not even involved with black people. She's married a white guy. Now, again, nothing wrong of marrying people of a different race. Whatever what you are interested in, and if they're interested in you, no problem. That is your business. you know, who you sleep with is your own business. But how could you talk about the improvement of blacks and to help our mindset and not thinking poor, but how come you don't have anybody in the black community working with you? So I'm a little confused. You don't want to work with yourself, with other blacks. It's like you want to work with white people and be validated by white people. You got to work together. You have to work better, black people, in order to survive the continuity of your heritage, that which is good. There's good in everything. But you don't value yourself. And so you date outside of your own. You treat others outside of your own better. Because what's happening in the black communities where it's really condensed, you don't like yourself, and so you put graffiti on your around your neighborhood. You dilapidate, you break things. You treat women badly, and the women treat you badly. You don't like each other. That's the problem. That is the essence of your problem. But what may be enhancing that negativity is media, television, the music, what else? Radio. That is really um, influencing how you think about yourself. Yeah, media is a very strong weapon that's used um, against many demographics. But in the United States, they are targeting you. Another thing I mentioned in today's earlier live stream I did, oh, it's that you're being used, like the flavor of the month to enter politics, to get known in mainstream media, or for biracial couples, or just a mixed race couple, or black and white couples, I mean. And that when one or the other party, let's say one party is white, the other is black, that you become noticeable, and that relationship is used for political enhancement and visibility. The mayor of New York City, he's a white man and he is married to a black woman. Thus, he gets in a spot in the New York government. Now you have Candace Owens, who, after knowing a guy for only 2.5 weeks, he proposed to her. Now, she does not have a college degree. She's being invited to speak in different organizations. And this man, rich guy from Britain, after hearing a speech that she gave, followed her back to the U.S. And after 2.5 weeks of knowing about each other, and they didn't even go on a date yet, according to her. He proposed to her, and she said yes. And then they married last year in August. And she is pregnant now. She is pregnant now with their first baby. Yeah, I hear you comment, Camp. She's a yeah. See, I don't want to see. I don't want to say that she's a traitor, because she is an adult, and she has a right to marry if she wants to. Okay, and he was honorable enough to ask her in marriage. But there was something. Oh, there was something else I wanted to say that I didn't mention in earlier's um, live stream today, with regard to the he how he proposed. Now, look at the interview yourself. That she gave an inter she and her husband were invited to talk at Liberty University, and that interview took place last year in September, September of 2019. uh, Liberty University is a college, a Christian college, and they also was, uh, there was another couple on with them, and they asked them, the the husband and Candace, how is it that after, is it true that after 2.5 weeks you propose? And so he said, she said yes, that's what happened. And he elaborated about the how it happened, and he said he said very specifically. He said the key thing was to get her off guard. That's what he said. So element of surprise. He said that was the key thing. So he first said uh, that how to say it now, that he's at the airport, and that he'll be flying, and if anything happens to him while he's flying, he wants to let her know something. And so that was the first surprise. And then he said, I really like you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and will you marry me? So that's what the other shock was. So those two things to throw her off. So and this is what he's saying, that he did two things. He got her off guard, and he did that deliberately. Now, is that something that any normal guy would do, to get someone off guard in order for him to get the response he wants? Sounds like mind control. Sounds like he is the new handler for her. You don't just go up to a woman after 2.5 weeks and say that, well, I needed to get her off guard, and for everybody to listen very carefully. That's what he actually said. He said, listen very carefully what I'm telling you, to the audience at Liberty University. He said he needed to get her off guard. So he presented it two things to throw her off guard. And that was in the excitement of it and everything, she did respond yes. And yes, they did marry a couple of months later. She married in August of last year, 2019. They met in December of 2018. And again, they said 2.5 weeks of knowing each other. And again, they never went on a date, but they must have had some communications in those 2.5 weeks, because she was a guest. I think she was in London. She was in Britain. I'm not 100% sure. They didn't mention where she spoke at, but she was a guest speaker, and she was talking about either communism or socialism, that's trying to be invaded. I mean, that type of government is trying to be infiltrated, and she didn't want that, and he liked that. So I believe that it was like a setup. It's so psychological, and that is so manipulative. Isn't I mean, really, let me get somebody thrown off guard, so that they get the response that you want. I mean, they seem very happy. They seem very, very happy with each other. And again, she's expecting a baby. So that, everybody likes people to be, happy. Um, and she did specify, as I mentioned earlier today, she specified she will not be living in New York. I don't know where she's living now. Do you know where she's living? Anybody who's listened to this video, this live stream, does anybody know where she is currently living? What state is she living in? She did specify that she was living in New York for 7 years, but I don't know where she's living now. But she did specify in the interview she did last year. In fact, she did that interview at Liberty University just 1 week after their wedding. Oh, their wedding. So they were still on their honeymoon. You're married for 1 week, and then you get on a program at Liberty University, a Christian college, and to do this, it's for something. And that's also on that same program. And I encourage all of you to look at that interview. It's at Liberty University, and she, her husband, and other people were invited on the show, and they did the program. And that's also where Candace mentioned that, okay, that she will not be living in New York. She says she doesn't like New York. It changed a lot, even though she lived there for 7 years. Um, and that she is probably going to live in DC, where it's nice and clean. Now, I've been to DC, and it was at this university, near the campus of this college there, and it looked spooky. And I thought this guy was going to try to break in the car. I was in a car with some other people, and the guy thought that the car was. And I was sitting in the back seat, and the uh, person who was driving just stepped out, and they left the key in the car since I was going to stay there, and I was with some other children. And the guy didn't notice me, and the guy was, I think, thought no one was in there. He wanted to rob the car, and he looked real spooky. Yeah, the whole area looks spooky, and so I don't know about what looks clean there. I mean, I guess where the government buildings are and everything. But she said she wants to live there, and that she would like to work in, something about the White House. And then the guy, the interviewer says, "Oh, well, you're not even old enough to be president." Yeah, because she's implying that she wants to, be the president. I forget exactly how she worded it, but something about the White House. And it suggested she wants to be the next president. So the interviewer says, "Well, you're not even of the age yet to run for president." And then she says, "Well, in 1924, I will be." So my instincts, my instincts were correct, and that she'll be running for office because everything about her and what she's doing heavily suggests she's being groomed for. I mean, she's not just promoting um, the Brexit and everything else. She's doing this to build up credibility, to get her name out, and for people to take her seriously. And why? Well, she let the cat out the bag. She wants to run for office. So I presume once she does move to DC with her new husband, that she'll probably run for some government seat to get her feet wet in the government to see how it works. So maybe she'll run for Congress or senator. That's what I'm thinking. And like what Obama did, he ran for a Senate seat, and then after I think less than 2 years, he runs for president. And Obama came out of nowhere, nowhere. So at least Candace has been active, according to Wikipedia. She's been active for since 2015 or 2016. Yeah, and I just learned of her approximately almost a little less than 2 years ago. And so yeah, so she'll be running for office, and I think she could probably do a good job. But my main concerns with Candace Owens, her last name is Farmer. Her married name is Farmer, like the one that the garden person is. So Candace Owens Farmer. Um, if she's talking about Brexit and other, for blacks to change the mindset, it would have been nice. I would take her more seriously about her claims for blacks to change the mindset if she was marrying a black person. There were some pictures of the wedding, and I don't see any black people. And so, how could you talk about black people if you have no involvement with other black people? How could you speak on behalf of black people if now she's not even going to come back to New York to live? Why does she want to come back to New York? Because she's a conservative. Well, there's a lot of black people that need people to kind of boost them up. So why don't she come back to the state where after she left college, she came to New York. So why not, if everything was based on improving your position, shouldn't she use New York City as her um, stepping stone to awaken the black people that's in the so-called black plantation, the Democrat plantation? But that's not happening. So it's hard to really take her seriously. And if she is she pandering to white people to get noticed and to get into politics? I don't want anybody to take my vote. Now, I think possibly she can do a good job. She's a conservative, but again, I don't want the far right. I don't want any extremes, but I tend to be more conservative, but I have some liberal qualities in me as well. I have a blend. I am a blend of both uh, polarities. So if if we're going to get a black candidate for 2024, I am interested in the president the president for then and even now to address reparations for black Americans. I think without it, we're really going to suffer. And marrying a white person is not reparations. I'm afraid of people becoming pacified and think they've made it because they married a white person or someone outside of their group who's doing well in life, and then you leave your black community and you start your adventures somewhere else. And the people left behind are destitute. And I'm hearing also, I know I'm kind of getting all over the place. I'm even hearing, I'm disappointed that I heard this. They said that they don't want to, what do you call it now? Those apartment, what do you call it? The projects. that they wanted to build. Someone suggested to build what they call the project. It's just affordable affordable housing, and do not have them. They want to put them in the suburbs. Well, the suburbs are just usually one or two family house, usually one family houses. But even people who are starting out, they can't afford living in those fancy houses. You need apartments and you need affordable homes. And so I was disappointed when they said, "Hey, they want to, uh, some Democrats want to put in um, the what do you call it, the projects in the suburbs like it's a disease." So it's not that they're not respecting the full spectrum of society. When you have a polarity, the very rich in one area and the very poor outside, that's when you really have problems because you're going to suck out the resources from the poor and put it in where the rich live. You need a blend of stuff. And so you're telling me that the projects is like an embarrassment. Well, the projects are run by the government. So if the government is now saying don't have the projects be put in the suburbs, then you are claiming that the projects is an eyesore. And if it's an eyesore, then correct it. Correct it because it's all different social economics, all different um, incomes. Not everybody is rich. So have clean, safe housing for all pockets. You have housing for the rich, poor, all types of spectrums. Some people want to live in apartments because maybe they travel a lot, they don't want to have a house. And then some people want a house, they like to garden, things like that. So have affordable private homes for those type of people, you know? So it just seemed like I don't want things to be elitist. Okay? So if you have people who claim that discrimination doesn't occur, um, prove it. Prove it. Try to eliminate the disparities that do occur in these demographics that I'm referring to, black people. Correct it. The area where I live, good example. Most of the blacks that live in my area, most of them live in those hotels. And this is not the Plaza Hotel. These are rundown hotels that were bought out by the government and they are used to house former inmates and drug addicts. That's who live in these areas. You don't have like men and women uh, married with children living in the area. It's just separate. You have street people and they go and hang out on the street corners doing the drug. And now they're doing the drugs so openly for the past 2 days. I don't know what's happening, but it's rampant. It's rampant. I hate it because the mindset. I want the best for my community. And now they're telling us that there's no, it's like all our imagination. If Candace Owens Farmer really believes what she's saying, she should prove it to the people where she lived for the past 7 years. That's all I'm saying. But now she's saying a year ago, no, she's not going to come here. because it's down to two. Hey, maybe she should be the senator of New York City. Hello, see that? There you go. There, see, it's really getting it's really getting me mad. It's really getting me angry. So you want to live in D.C. to get your political spots? Oh, because New York City is a liberal town and she's a conservative. So, oh well. But you know, so New York is a place to make money, but oh, I'm not gonna run for politics there. I'm gonna go to D.C. where she doesn't live. Oh well. So it is what it is, and so that's what I wanted to talk about. I think I got everything off my chest and the concerns that I had. You know, I talked about the two visions that I had, and then I talked about Candace Owens Farmer. Yes, I wish the best for all of us, and just just analyze, just really listen to what people say and what they don't say, and see the outcome. You have to make the decisions for yourself. But whatever decision you make, do the decision that you could live with. Okay? So I thank you, listener. I thank you. And yes, you could write your comments below. Share my video with your friends, family members that you think will enjoy listening to this. And if you want to, if you like my content and you want to support me, you can do so by PayPaling me. And to do that, go to my channel, Spirit Journey, and on the right side of the banner of my channel, you will see my PayPal me link. Just click on the link and follow the prompt. Any amount would be greatly appreciated, and I say thank you in advance. So thank you again for listening. Be safe and love yourself and love your neighbor. Okay? Thank you again. Signing off. Be well all. Bye bye.